Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hey, mate.
What's happening, geezer?
What's up, geez?
Jelly deal, innit? Hello, Shannon.
Hello, Lauren.
How are you?
Good.
That's good. What's going on?
Not much. Going to do a podcast about nutrition.
Oh, excellent. It's one of my favourite topics.
All right, let's get it kicking.
Cool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Warrior Strength Cast. I'm your host, Shannon Green, and I'm here with my lovely co-host,
Lauren Green.
Yes, and today...
It feels all real official now that we're just, but it's the two of us here.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, we can introduce the dogs. We've got George panting over there.
Should get Otis on the podcast. He knows,
Nah, he's calm right now. Just leave him.
he knows a bit about nutrition. George is a bit stressed out.
George is fussier than Otis.
Oh, yeah. So
Otis is on the eat everything diet.
he is. He just can't get in his mouth.
Oh,
Just
poor
drops
little guy.
everywhere.
Anyway, time to get serious.
Yeah. So, we'll do a podcast today, a bit about nutrition and the basics. We're going to start from the beginning, about what calories mean, and then work our way through, and then talk about how we like to structure our nutrition plans for our clients
Cool.
and athletes and everything.
Yep.
Cool. So, first and foremost, calories are king.
That's correct.
It is. Calories dictate your body weight. So whatever calories you're eating to support the body weight that you're currently at. If your body weight is going up, you're in a calorie surplus. If your body weight is going down, by default you're in a calorie deficit. And if you're maintaining the same weight, then you are at maintenance calories. Now, calories are for Jenny Craig, but calories only dictate the body weight, not where that body weight comes from. So whether it comes from fat or muscle tissue. This is where macros play a role.
What's a macro?
Oh, protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So they are your protein and fat intake are based on grams per kilogram of lean mass, not grams per kilogram of your total body weight. Unless you're an athlete that's below 15%, then you might use the body weight of the individual, but generally you're going to base it off their lean tissue.
Yep.
So if you're 20% body fat and you're trying to base your protein intake off your total body weight, you are incorrect. You need to lower it.
That's right.
It is.
So you're telling me if I'm an overweight, 150 kilo female, I just can't base my protein and fat intake off that 150 kilos?
No.
Oh. There goes my Macca's diet.
So that's first and foremost is...
And so
calories
which
are king.
out of the three macros is the most important?
Well, protein is again going to dictate how much muscle tissue you have or maintain or lose on your body to a degree. So, is this?
Well, should we just turn it off?
Well, people are watching. Hello.
Okay. Hi everyone on the live feed. We haven't really done a live feed just on our own. Well, I know we did before, but
Yeah,
I'm just going to let people keep rolling in because they're talking to us, but we're not talking back.
that's all right. Hello.
Hi everyone. That's how Shannon is anyway. He doesn't converse. I'm the friendly one. Sorry, I distracted you.
Yeah. So protein is going to dictate the amount of muscle tissue you have on your body. The older you are,
The more protein you need.
Yes.
Funny that.
Yes.
And why is that?
Because you develop what is called anabolic resistance. So you don't absorb and process the protein as well as you would when you were younger. So when you're younger, you actually can get away with a lot less protein. That's why you see kids eating just cereal and stuff like that and still being able to develop muscle mass. Because for muscle mass, you need three things. You need either protein, you need hormones, or you need a stimulus. So if you're young and you have a lot of hormones and you have a stimulus like lifting weights, you can develop muscle. As you get older, you need a higher protein intake for that to happen. It doesn't happen as well. That's why you see vegans that use anabolic steroids can gain muscle mass, and they can't without them because they don't have sufficient protein intake, so they generally don't develop sufficient muscle mass. And then if they take exogenous hormones, then they tend to develop muscle mass, and then they claim that it's part of the vegetarian or vegan diet, which it wasn't. It was part of the anabolic hormones.
I see.
That helped them get that.
But just so going back to what you were saying before, so is it from the age of 40 we lose, is it 1% every year?
Yeah, I think
1% of our muscle mass every year, lean body mass?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little statistic that I know from Dr. Luke Del Vecchio, so cheers, boss.
So, your older clients, you should give them more protein intake. Generally, protein intake is somewhere between roughly 2 grams, 2 to 3 grams per kilogram. There is research. Dr. Jose Antonio, I think, has studied up to 4.4 grams per kilogram, and fed people in a surplus of protein, and they actually lost body weight. So not all macros are equal. Protein requires a little bit more, it's got a greater thermic effect of food,
yep.
So it's going to require more calories to process and digest. So it's not all your macros are not considered equal. So if you give someone who's at a maintenance on their current diet, and then you switch their macros around and increase their protein intake, they could potentially lose weight
lose body fat.
Lose body fat, yeah. Because they will have a larger thermic effect of food, and they'll basically displace more energy and most likely gain more muscle mass, which is lean tissue, which will burn more calories.
Yeah, so then just quickly on that point, the more muscle mass you hold, the more calories you're going to burn.
100%. So if you want to it's easier for more muscular people to get leaner than it is for a less muscular person, because they have more metabolic tissue. So just at rest, they burn more calories.
Yeah. So I know my calorie intake is much higher than it was. I mean, I still guess I posted a photo today about a year ago. So I was in the middle of cutting then for Pro Raw, and then I was about 62 kilos a year ago now, and then I was 68, and I'm still relatively lean. I'm not as lean as I was then, but I've still got a pretty lean physique, and I'm on a higher calorie maintenance base. Well, I'm also sort of in a bit of a surplus at the moment. Yeah. But yeah, so it's kind of like people that say, well, oh yeah, but so-and-so eats this or eats that much, and they say that you're going to eat more to burn fat. And it's like, yeah, but they've already spent years developing a physique that's carrying a lot more lean muscle mass. So then, therefore, they've earned their right to eat more food.
Exactly. So your macros are not my macros, they're not Lauren's macros, they're not someone else's macros. The macros really need to be adjusted towards the individual.
It's very individual.
And then that's what we do when we work with clients. We adjust the macros, and then we adjust them and watch what happens, and then basically find an amount that works good for them and their situation, their current amount of exercise, their level of stress, their lifestyle. All those sort of factors are going to play into what you're going to eat within your diet, essentially.
Yeah. So what I do with my online nutrition clients is I tell them, if you're going to do this, we need to commit to the first 2 weeks with no deviation from the plan, because I mean, I'm not a genius. I'm maybe 98% been like not correct.
Yeah.
With my guess of like, okay, well, this is what we're going to give you to start the plan. I think there's been like probably 3 people who I've coached where I've given them one plan and they've carried that plan on for 6 months, and we've made maybe one tiny adjustment to it on a training day or something like that where we've really hit the mark. But it's very hard to figure out for an individual just based on a sheet that they're filling out for me and telling me about their daily activity and telling me about how hard they train when I don't have any control over their training. I'm solely looking at their nutrition, and then I'm also solely having trust in them that they're following the plan the way that I've given it to them, to the most optimal level that they can, and not just looking for something that's on the plan you know, like I try to not give a restricted plan. I sort of have every sort of food is on there to begin with.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you need to make good choices. And some people will still think, okay, well, I've just paid a nutrition coach and I have a plan that says ham on here. So I'm just going to eat 150 grams of ham at every meal. And it's like, well, actually, you didn't read any of the any of the documents that went along with how I'm telling you to structure a meal plan. That's just on there for like on a Sunday, if you go out for breakfast with your friends, you don't have to sit with a sign on your head that says I'm on a diet and I'm only going to eat 3 boiled eggs. Yeah. So anyway, so it's hard to gauge it, and I like to have a 2 weeks, the initial first 2 weeks, just to say, all right, have we hit the nail on the head? Just track your weight every day, follow the food plan every day, and at the end of that first 2 weeks, we can gauge, okay, did we hit maintenance? Did we go above or did we go below? Yeah, and if we go extremely above extremely above, obviously we would change immediately, but if we went extremely below, then I would bring it back. I'd add more food, because we don't want to cut too hard too fast. Exactly. Because then where do you go from there? Yeah. Exactly. I'm not going to give someone 1,000 calories like in the second week of a 3-month cut. So
that's it. But sometimes
it's a science, but it's hard to figure it out.
A lot of the times, if you get them to track their food and they've been maintaining their weight, if you get them to track for 2 weeks and you haven't changed their diet, you can sort of get an average, and that's roughly their maintenance, and then you can just go and change them with good macros, good food choices, and then get a better balance, and then give them that, which is supposedly supposed to be maintenance, but then they actually start losing weight. Yeah. And sometimes that is just because they actually by default then go into a deficit because they feel better, they got more energy, they start to move more, they start to train harder, so that automatically puts them in a slight deficit anyway, plus you're feeding them more protein and so on and so forth. So there are other things to consider as well. So it's not as exactly as cut and dry. Figuring out how many calories you need as an individual, there's obviously a lot of calculators. You can do metabolism testing. Hayes and Luke run that, and Luke has metabolism tested a lot of individuals over the years, and you'll get a lot of people that think they have a slow metabolism, and generally that is not the case. Most people just overeat, and most people are actually very poor at tracking their food. It's something, the statistics, like people underreport about 60% of what they eat, and they also
overestimate their exercise
activity levels 100%. So as far as metabolism testing goes, Luke's tested that many people, and even people with thyroid conditions, and they still have a normal metabolism. So it's, or maybe slightly below, it's not as slow as what people think. It's not like your metabolism just shuts down and stops working. Most of the time it's because you're just stuffing your face and you have zero self-control. That's generally what it tends
or
to
even
be.
if you're not stuffing your face, yes, there are some people that are, but also people are just, if you don't educate yourself on what is in foods, because you can't go on what the media is telling you, and that's the bad thing. In 2019, there's still so much crap in the market or on in the media that's telling you, okay, well, this is healthy now. So people are like, well, I'm going to have this Special K cereal because it's got protein in it. It's like, well, okay, so sorry,
what type of protein?
But it's not a complete protein for one, but also it might have like 4 grams of protein for your 30 grams of carbs and 6 grams of fat. It's not, so nothing is clear. And I mean, if people are selling you something, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, even if it might not be correct. Exactly. So people are just misled. So people are eating things, I thought it was healthy. I know I've had people who are like, I've cut out some carbs, but they're eating their fats because they're eating way too many nuts. They think, I'm on paleo now, so I'll just eat like this whole bag of nuts or whatever, and they're not calculating what's in the nuts, the fats that's in the nuts, how many avocados they're having a day, and then they're eating fatty meats as well. So if your fats are if your fat in grams is higher than your body weight in kilos, by double, and you're like, but I'm eating healthy and I don't understand why I haven't lost weight. Well, then it's where education comes into it.
Exactly. Yes, but reading food labels, people just don't pay attention to food labels. Most people eat something and they have no idea what's in it, and it's written there right in front of them. It's funny, some people will say, here, you should take this supplement, like a magnesium or something. I've got to do my research, and it's like, hang on, you just ate this fucking 4 or 5 different packaged foods and you have no idea what's on that label. You've never read it, but you didn't do your research about what you put in your mouth. You're going to go and do your research on a fucking packet of magnesium, you know what I mean? People's concepts are a little bit skewed there.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're going to put it in your mouth, you should read and understand. Read the label. If you don't know what something is that's on the label, Google it.
Yeah, it's not that hard to find information these days. Yeah.
And you'll be surprised at how many ingredients are in food that actually don't even need to be in there.
Yeah.
Preservatives and stuff like, as we're talking about fats, like again, not all fats are created equal. You need to get a good balance of fats in your diet. Majority of the fats in your diet should be monounsaturated fats. And then the second largest percentage should be saturated fat. And then the smallest percentage of your diet should come from poly and trans fats. Now, contrary to what people think, meat is not high in saturated fat. Well, most meat isn't. A lot of doctors go, well, cut red meat out, it's high in saturated fat. That's actually incorrect. Beef is 55% monounsaturated fat and 40% saturated fat, and then the rest of the fats in it come from poly and trans fat sources. So it is actually not high in saturated fats. Dairy is higher in saturated fats. Coconut is high in saturated fats. Not all saturated fats are equal either. But there's something to consider. In nature, most animals have a greatest percentage of their fat in their body is a monounsaturated source. When animals are grain-fed, that percentage ends up becoming a larger percentage of polyunsaturated fats. And then we have polyunsaturated fats, which are omega-3 and omega-6. You've got omega-9, there's a whole bunch of them, but technically we're worrying more about the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. Grass-fed beef has a 3 to 2 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, so it's pretty similar. Grain-fed beef has a 15 to 2 ratio. Grain-fed beef, sorry, yep. So it's skewed. Now, if you're eating fried food, which most food that's fried these days is fried in polyunsaturated vegetable fats, and then you're eating packaged foods, which they use a lot of vegetable oils, canola oil, etc., polyunsaturated fats as preservatives or to suspend the product in, and then you're eating grain-fed meat sources, farmed fish. Now the polyunsaturated fats in your diet is super high, higher than what it should be. So now the ratio in your diet is screwed up. So you got to make sure that the ratio of fats in your diet is good. So you need to make sure that you're getting a large percentage of monounsaturated fats. And technically, if you're eating enough protein, you're going to cover your saturated fat base pretty well. You're going to get enough saturated fat in your diet from eating a bunch of quality meat and fish, and then you're going to add the rest of your fats are probably going to come from things like avocados, some nuts, some unroasted nuts, some raw nuts, seeds, maybe a little bit of coconut oil, some dairy as well. You shouldn't eliminate dairy from your diet unless you are actually intolerant to dairy. Most people aren't. Most people think, oh, I'm intolerant to dairy because they jumped on the gluten and dairy intolerant bandwagon. The problem is most people go, I feel shit after eating a pizza because you ate a whole fucking pizza. It's not, you're not.
You don't have a gluten intolerance, but you just shove something in your body that you haven't been having.
You just ate 2,000 calories and your digestive tract can't cope with it.
Wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah, so most people overdo things and then think they're intolerant, and if you're eating a reasonable percentage in your diet, then, and if you can tolerate that, then you should keep it in your diet and incorporate it, because dairy has a lot of good things going for it, like calcium, you get some vitamin D, etc. Saturated fat, again, is not bad. Too much saturated fat might be, but if you're eating real food sources, you're never really going to have that problem. So this is where it sort of comes down to. Most people have dietary issues because they don't eat real food. They eat packaged food. If you don't eat food that's in packages and make your meals, and don't eat fast food and make all your diet up out of what you could call single food source food, so like a piece of meat it's a single ingredient food, a vegetable, a carbohydrate source like a potato or rice, etc. If you make your majority up of those types of foods, it's pretty hard to go wrong.
Yep.
The problem is people always want to sneak things in. People want flexibility, and and flexibility is fine, but you've also got to decide what your goal is. If your goal is to change your body composition significantly, and you're significantly out of shape, then it's going to take you a long time, and you're going to be fairly dedicated to the process. You can't just, it's not going to happen overnight. There's no such thing as a 6 or 12 week shred that all these retards want to sell you on the fucking internet. All this bullshit.
Nice and PC there. Sorry, that's just Shannon Green. But it is, I mean, it's true. And then there's people that are like, well, I'm losing, I need inspiration, or I'm losing, like, you know, I want something nicer. Like, can I eat this protein bread that I found, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, no, why can't you just eat why do you have to make something out of something?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've made really, I mean, my perfect example, I've posted about it before, was Carmen, my, well, I don't want to call her my number one nutrition client, because she's like, but she's in the top, she's in the lead in the running. There's a few of you anyway. So, but she was making her own healthy banana bread, and she was tracking it. Like, I was like, well, what is this healthy banana bread? And she's like, well, I make it myself, and I put all the ingredients in. And she'd done it 100% correct. Yeah. You know, and that's how you want to do it if you're going to do it. Like, it was all entered in my fitness pal. She'd made it all herself. She knew exactly what was in it. She'd like serving sized it all, done all the portions, all that. And I was like, why can't you just eat a banana? And she went, okay. And then she did. And then she's just been eating it. And then her results, she's just gone like leaner, getting stronger. And she hasn't gone on a stupid, like, restricted, low-calorie diet. Yeah. She's eating plenty of food. She's training hard. But she's just eating smarter and eating whole foods. Yeah. So it's like, you don't really need to go with something fancy. And again, it comes down to things that you see advertised. Yeah. People say, oh, protein bread. It's like, I mean, my mum was one of the people that did it. Well, I'm having this bread because she told herself not to have bread because it was a bad food, and then but this protein bread came out, and it's like, look at the calories that's in a slice of that stuff. Yeah. You know, so it's like, you can't trick it. Like, there's no escaping it. So you've got to really be dedicated to it. And if you've got a lot of weight to lose, then, like, I'm really sorry to say it, but sometimes your meals are going to be boring. 100%. And that's like, I know when we spoke with the RP guys have a sheet on it. It's like, well, you need to move away from tasty foods, because how easy is it to overeat a tasty food? 100%. It's not very easy to overeat chicken breast and broccoli. You
can smash a pack of Doritos straight away.
Like, it's not that my plan says chicken breast and steamed broccoli but you know, like, I like to think my clients are smarter to make more tasty and inspirational meals than that. But it is harder to overeat. It can
be tasty, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you go to 5-star restaurants and the chefs use real food, and it tastes really good because they know how to cook. And then I get people go, oh, I don't know how to cook. I didn't know how to cook. I just taught myself. I watched cooking shows and I cooked stuff and I fucked a lot of meals up. And I had to eat a lot of burnt meals, a lot of overcooked, a lot of rubber, a lot of stuff that didn't taste too good.
No wastage.
But guess what? I learnt that I'm not going to do that next time. And I ate it because I wasn't going to waste the food and enjoy it. But then eventually I learned how to cook, and I learned what not to do. And you're never ever going to get through life unless you learn these things. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's it. It's a little little message in there for Adrian as well. Don't be afraid to cook and make mistakes. Just don't make the same mistakes.
Like, if you're above 20 years old and you don't know how to cook your meals, mate,
sort your life out.
Sort yourself out, really.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. It's a life skill that you should have, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, and it's not that hard, really. It's not. It's fucking turning a pan on and putting it in for a certain period of time, pulling it out before it gets burnt, and then deciding what you like to combine together that suits your taste buds. Yeah. And obviously suits your nutritional needs as well.
Yeah. So before you go any further, because I don't know where you're going to go with all of this. I never do. But just one thing that you touched on earlier about having raw nuts rather than roasted nuts. Yeah. So tell us why it's not optimal to be eating roasted, especially roasted salted nuts, that you then will have 3 and then the next minute the whole bag's gone. Yeah,
well, again, like, quite easier to overeat, but nuts, the fat sources in nuts, again, they're going to be a bit higher in polyunsaturated omega-6s, and those fats are not stable at high heat. So roasting the nut, you're going to destroy some of the fats, and then you George.
It's too hot in here. Our air conditioner broke, by the way, guys, so that's why George is panting and Shannon's sweating.
Yeah, I'm just dripping. And so then you're basically going to have some fats that you've that you've heated that probably shouldn't have been heated, that should have been raw. So,
So changes the...
Yeah, and again, like, when you eat nuts, like, really, you're going to have one serving of nuts a day. That's a reality in your diet. If you've got a balanced diet and you're getting some fats from some dairy, some fats from some meat, some fats from some fish, some fats from some avocado or olive oil or both, and then maybe a serving, like, you're having one serving of nuts, you know what I mean? Like, it could be 10 or 12 nuts is going to be a reality in someone's diet. No more than that, do you know what I mean? I've got a fairly high calorie allowance and a fairly high fat allowance, and I probably don't have more than 10 or 12 nuts in a day when I'm having a serving of nuts as part of my meal,
which is where nut butters become an issue.
Exactly. So nut butters, again, like, you should never, you want to chew food. When you chew food, this stuff happens in your saliva that actually starts the digestion process. So you're better off having something that you can chew, because you're going to digest, process and assimilate it better. So never drink what you can eat, like drinking protein shakes and stuff is all inferior. Like, people go, oh, but can't I have a shake? It's like, no, motherfucker, eat some food, because that shake's going to last 2 seconds. You're going to be hungry after the shake, and then you're going to want to eat something. And the nut butter's the same. You're not going to chew it. It's not going to give you the same satisfaction. Yes, nut butters are tasty, and sometimes I have them, but it's like, I wouldn't necessarily make it the staple fat source in my diet unless I'm in a phase where you're consuming so much food that actually the food volume,
you need to get
becomes an issue dense. And you need to get calorie dense foods in, and you want something that maybe is partially already broken down because you're already eating so much food. But most people are never really ever going to come across that issue. You're not going to come across that till you get really above 5,000 calories of real food, not liquid food, per day, and then that's when sort of eating then starts to get a bit hard for people. But so most people are never really going to come across that issue. So you just get that out of your heads right now.
And also, so protein shakes are not, it's not like we're completely against them, but if you've got the opportunity to eat a real meal of whole foods, we'd much rather you be doing that. But then again, if you're going to go into a meeting and you're going to miss your window of opportunity to sit down and eat a meal, grab your shake and some fruit or something that's going to go with it to still make up, you know, to sort of try and hit your targets and stay on track with that.
As Stan Efferding says, shakes are for fakes.
Yeah, the white rhino.
But yeah, so, oh, Jesus.
Wow, George.
Get in there, George. I don't know, what was I talking about?
Stan Efferding. Shakes are for fakes. No, so we just moved on from, we're talking about fats.
Yeah, okay, so fats are covered.
Fats are covered. Let's talk about...
Get a good ratio in your diet, make sure it's fairly evenly distributed. Actually, that's what I wanted to go on about fats. Peanut butter. This is... people come to me, they do their diet, and they come and they think they're eating really good, and it's very bro. So what we've got is we'll have 4 meals of chicken, a meal of beef, all meals with sweet potato and broccoli, and then I'll have like a protein shake with peanut butter. Peanut butter's all right, and peanuts do contain some good nutrients, but if you're using peanuts as your sole added, really extra fat source every single day of the week, you're doing something seriously wrong. You're going to end up with a nutrient imbalance. You're not going to have, again, each type of food has different types of ratios, and the reason there's many types of foods out there is because we need to get the nutrients from them foods. Our body needs that stuff. The Odin made us the way that he made us. The Lord. For a reason. We need to consume food, and we need to eat it, and we need to get our vitamins and minerals in small portions from nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables, and that's how it goes. That's how we're designed. So sometimes taking a supplement is not the best thing, because these things occur in nutrients with other compounds for a reason, because it helps it go into the body and digest and assimilate. So going back to the broness,
but don't you think with peanut butter, like, I mean, when I was a kid, I'd have peanut butter sandwiches or peanut butter and honey or whatever, and so it was like, I mean, it wasn't like Nutella. Like, we never went and ate peanut butter out of the jar.
Yeah.
So it's only really when, like, became the bro stigma of a bodybuilding diet, and you get to have peanut butter as your cheat because you can eat a whole tablespoon of it that you don't weigh, but it's a tablespoon, which is like, you know, it's like an ice cream scoop full.
Still like fucking 200-300 calories.
But it's like, it's got this psychological impact on people now that they're like, oh, I can't take peanut butter out of my diet. Don't ask me to stop eating peanut butter. It's like, well, why? Why did it become like the glory fat?
But it doesn't. So if you have a look, so person's got 4 meals of chicken, right? So chicken, grain-fed chicken, it's probably commercially farmed, sitting in a pen, doesn't get more movement. It's going to have a high amount of polyunsaturated fat in the chicken. They're going to eat peanuts, which again, they've got a high amount of polyunsaturated fats. They got some beef, which is most likely, again, grain-fed beef, high amount of polyunsaturated fats in it, or a higher amount of omega-6 to omega-3. And then, so you're not really getting a good ratio of fat source. You're screwing your polyunsaturated fat sources in your diet. You really need to have some fish in that diet. Not saying chicken's a bad thing, but like every meal shouldn't be the same. That's the reason you get variety in your diet, because you're going to expose yourself to different nutrients. You're going to expose yourself to different fat ratios. How can you predict exactly what fat ratio you need? You don't know. We can't really predict it for the individual, but what we can do is feed different combos of foods, and the person can sort of figure out what makes them feel the best. Again, the bro diet, every meal is sweet potato. You're going to end up with like one serious sort of vitamin A imbalance in your body. I had a client who used to juice carrots every morning and she turned orange. Okay, so like she literally did. She started going orange. Oompa. Yeah, but like, again, you're overdoing one food. Like, just because a food is quote unquote healthy doesn't mean you can eat it at every meal, and just because it's unhealthy doesn't mean that you can't eat it either. I mean, there's got to be some balance in the diet, but you need to think about the fats that you're putting in your mouth and where you're getting them from and where they're coming from. Like, the thing that kills me the most is people go, oh yeah, but I eat good. I eat like 80% good. What the fuck's 80%? If you turned up to your job 80% of the time, you'd be fucking fired. You wouldn't have a job. Like literally, if you did 80% of your training program, how good do you think your results are? So if you're like your diet's 80% good, whatever the fuck that means, generally it's not. It's like more like 30 or 40.
But then again, that also is very subjective. I eat really well. Okay, tell me what you eat. Yeah. So, let me be the judge of that. Really well for you, or how come? Why have you come to me in the first place, and why does your body look the way it does if you eat really well?
That's it.
So, how's that working out for you? Exactly
what we said. Calories dictate your body weight. So, if you can't lose body weight, it's because you're overeating.
Yep.
That's just the sad
truth bomb.
Oh, sorry, people, but that's just the way it is. If you can't gain muscle, if you're a skinny guy and you can't gain weight, because you're not eating enough. It's just the way it is. But I get skinny guys that go, oh yeah, but I eat heaps. No, you don't. You don't understand what eating heaps is. It's like dedicating your life to eat heaps. Some people eating heaps, they need to eat heaps more than what they think. And then some people think they're eating good. To lose weight, they need to eat a lot better than what they think.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. Like, again, like you can't judge your diet. Well, my mate did this and they got really good results. Cool, that's them. It's not you, because you've done it and you didn't get the results, so it wasn't for you. So you obviously did something wrong, or it wasn't what you needed in your diet. Carbohydrates.
There we go, number 3.
Not the enemy. Generally.
Love me some carbs.
Generally, when we give people diets, we don't really cut carbohydrates out unless we absolutely need to. We want the carbs to fuel performance.
Yeah, that's like a last resort. Well, not a last resort, but I definitely try a few things before I say, right, let's go low carb and see how you'd respond. Exactly.
So we give them figure out what their maintenance is, and then we drop them into a calorie deficit, and then see how well they're losing weight, and then you go, well, they're being honest on their form and on their tracking, and they're doing the exercise and the amount of steps that they're doing, and they're not really losing weight at the rate that we think they should be losing. Then we might go to adding in some lower carb days or a lot more lower carb meals. Like, again, I get people to do blood work, and a lot of people come back with pretty high fasting blood sugars anyway. But most of the time that's not an issue once we sort of feed them a complete meal that's protein, fats, carbs, plenty of fibre from fruits and vegetables. That tends to come down anyway, but then some people it just doesn't, and then we've got to switch them to a low carb. Again, there's nothing wrong with keto or anything like that, or a lower carb diet if that suits your lifestyle and that's the way you prefer to eat, and it can help you achieve your goals, then that's fine. But don't mistake a keto diet for a performance diet, because carbohydrates are going to be your primary fuel source. Although some people can perform pretty well on lower carbs, generally, that once you put some carbs in someone's diet that's doing a fairly lower carb diet around their training, they tend to perform a lot better. Carbohydrate, has hydrate in it. It means carbohydrates hydrate you because they pull water and sodium, potassium along with them to store in the muscle, so they keep you hydrated. So if you're going too low carb, for some people, they can get dehydrated, and being dehydrated is not a performance enhancer.
No, it is not. It is a dehancer, actually.
Yes.
So what about carb timing? How strict do you think you need to be with that?
For most people, the average person probably doesn't train hard enough, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
But if someone's training pretty hard, I think it can work fairly well. Like I do fairly well with timing my carbs around my workout. I feel a lot better. But also too, I've also got to eat a fairly decent amount of food volume, and I find it a bit easier if I can eat some more vegetables in the meals away from training, and then less vegetables in the meals where I've got a higher proportion of carbs or some more easily digestible vegetables, so that then that whole food bulk, that whole food volume is a little bit more tolerated by my digestive tract. For someone who doesn't have that issue, it might not be a problem.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there is something to carb timing, but I think you need to earn carb timing too. You need to already be of a decent amount of body fat. Now, if you're not below 20% body fat, I don't think it's really going to matter. And that 20%'s being kind. If you're below sort of 15%, that's probably more realistic for most people.
For men, you mean 15%?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then base that on the female, but that might be like 18 or something, and then 20,
23 or something.
23, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so other than macros, does anything else matter?
Yes.
Is there anything else you could think
Fiber
of?
is king.
Yes. And where do we get fiber? What else do we get when we get fiber? Micronutrients.
Fruits and vegetables. So a large proportion of your micronutrients is going to come from fruits and vegetables. Now, I always tell people to try and hit at least 30 grams of fiber per day, and hit the RDI for potassium, which is 4,700 milligrams of potassium per day. And they should be getting about 70% of the potassium from fruits and vegetables, because you're going to get a proportion from your meat and other fat sources and some from your carb sources. But essentially we want to get the larger proportion from fruits and vegetables.
So I can't just get it all from butter?
No.
Oh.
And I also tell them, because as a fail-safe, some people get this is sort of a bit of a pet peeve with some of the if it fits your macros people. Some people fit macro numbers with some fucking food that's horrendous. I don't even know how they
caramel syrup.
Achieve like a macro total that looks fairly reasonable if you looked at it on paper, but then you actually look at the food quality and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, what's that building?
Yeah.
Besides the Michelin man, you know what I mean? So another fail-safe within that 25 gram or 30 grams of fibre and the 4,700 milligrams of potassium. Again, these are surrogate measures. It's not like, I'm not saying just those numbers. If you hit those numbers from 10 different fruits and vegetables, then you're probably going to cover your micronutrients across the board. Most people don't meet the RDIs of their micronutrients. Now, you need stuff for muscle contractions like potassium, zinc, magnesium, calcium. Like, all this stuff is involved in performance.
Sodium.
Sodium. Generally, most people will hit enough sodium
Yes,
if
they will.
have a good balanced diet. And potassium, again, if you hit your potassium, you're going to feel a lot more hydrated than just shoving a bunch of sodium into your body or high sodium foods. But generally, most people, I don't really see anyone having an issue hitting their sodium intake when they've got a good balanced diet. They generally tend to hit it fairly easily, and we're not too concerned about it.
Yep.
Yes, so micronutrients, you need to hit the RDIs. The RDIs, for a reason, recommended daily intakes because they're associated with different diseases and stuff if you're deficient in them. Most people just don't hit them. They don't hit their RDI for magnesium, potassium, zinc, iron.
Because they're eating every meal with sweet potato and peanut butter.
Yeah, well, even that, even that's not getting too bad. But then what you're going to do is there's also top ends for RDIs as well that they've studied and researched. And then some of those things you're going to be way 500% above the top end of what's allowable with that micronutrient. So now you've got
too
other
much of a good
vitamins
thing.
and minerals, and having too much of one thing can cause also a deficiency in another mineral or vitamin. So you want to try and hit as close, around those RDIs and a bit above, but you don't want to be just over consuming one food. That's why you get the variety in your diet. You might not be able to hit those micronutrients all in one day, to cover your RDIs from every single RDI each day might not happen. But if let's say you only hit 70% of your zinc, but the next day you hit 150% of your zinc, then that's fine. You know what I mean? It's getting in there, and
So it's like weekly averages.
Yeah, you want to sort of get more close to a weekly average, and that's the thing about calories as well. It doesn't have to be exactly on the day. If your weekly average is coming round about what your maintenance is or below, then you're going to lose weight. Yep. And then the RDIs are the same. So you're going
So you mean if I have one meal where I've fallen off, I shouldn't just blow out the whole rest of the day?
No. Oh. Should jump straight back on the bandwagon.
Yeah. At the next meal or the next day? Or the next Monday?
Always the next. No, go the next month. Just fuck up a whole month. Just gain a shitload of fat. Get depressed. Feel horrendous. And then cry why you haven't lost weight. It just doesn't make sense. Think logically, people.
Yep. Newsflash.
So generally, when I do diets for my clients, I don't really actually give people macros to start with. I'm actually not too concerned. I look at what they've been eating, try and figure out what is essentially their maintenance, and then I give them a fairly sort of you could call it a zone, sort of 40, 30, 30 type protein, fat, carb split, a fairly even split. And just give them amounts of foods. I want them to have 150 grams of protein from a animal source, like a meat source, and then get XYZ vegetables and carbs and choose something out of each column. And then I'm not too concerned about the calories they hit because I know they're within the realm of those calories. But what I do is I try and get them to then hit their micronutrients, and we'll try and get their fruits and vegetables and everything right, so they're getting the right amounts each day. And then once they've got that dialed in and we've done a couple weeks of that, then I go, okay, now let's adjust the macros. Let's take a little bit out of here, we'll put a little bit more in here, and then start to get a balance that way. I like to concentrate on micronutrients first because straight away their performance improves, they feel better. Also too, when some people start losing fat, because a lot of toxins and everything are stored in your fat tissue, you start to liberate fat. Sometimes the liver's got to deal with that stuff, and then some people's livers are not functioning so great, and liver and kidneys, and then they tend to get sick straight away within the first week or two. It's pretty common. A lot of people will know that when they do a diet, and it's, if we focus first on not really losing body weight but getting enough sort of micronutrients in the diet, then that doesn't tend to happen, or they don't tend to get as sick.
And then also, as a double-edged sword, when people just start their plan and then they get sick, what do? Well, I felt sick, so I'm comfort eating.
Yes.
So they either don't track those comfort eating meals, or they track them, and they come up with all sorts of excuses of why they went off the bandwagon, and then ask for my suggestions on what I think that they should do, and I say, you should go back on the plan.
Exactly.
Which is mind-blowing.
When in doubt,
follow the plan.
Do what your coach told you to do in the fucking first place. That's
The thing with,
much it.
I've had a lot of people that have come to do some coaching with me on nutrition, and then they will say, well, I've followed macros before. And so then it's like, but they're like, well, I don't know how to put meals together. And I'm like, so that's one reason why I don't like the macro plan. But they'll just sort of say to me, oh, what are my targets? Like, what are my numbers? And I'm like, I just want you to eat according to the plan and track everything.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm not giving them a specific number, because I don't want people to, if it fits your macros, make up meals to hit macros where they haven't eaten complete meals or put together something that's on the plan.
Because basically then what they do is they put shit in there and then fill everything around the shit.
Yeah.
Instead of eating whole meals and then go, oh, I have a couple hundred calories left, so I might have this.
Yeah.
People tend to do it the other way and fill it full of whatever they want to, the worst food that you could possibly
Oh, well, I had
think of.
carbs left at the end of the day, so I sculled down something like I'm like, huh? Wait a minute, you told me you wanted to lose weight? So, yeah.
So, again, macros are not always just the answer, and you need to get a balance in the meal. You're going to have better digestion of the meal. Thing about fruits and vegetables is you can't make up your fibre at the end of the day. It's impossible.
You can't make up your protein at the end of the day either.
No, you can't make up your protein at the end of the day because you're just not going to get a benefit from the actual protein creating muscle protein synthesis. But for fruits and vegetables, if you go and try and consume 30 or 40 grams of fibre at one meal, you're gonna
be full of shit, bro.
Seriously fucking constipated. You're gonna have a serious issue. But again, the reason vitamins and minerals and everything are in small trace amounts in fruits and vegetables is because that's how they need to be consumed. So trying to eat like a kilo of fruits and vegetables at the end of the day is probably not a good idea. So you need to have a little bit with each meal. The fibre, again, helps with the digestion. And then you also have carbohydrates going in with micronutrients like potassium, sodium, other minerals. You have protein going in there. You have fats, which again will lower the glycemic load of the actual meal, so you get a better blood sugar response to the meal, and then you feel good and you don't crash 2 seconds after the meal because you just ate like I don't know, what do people eat, banana bread or something, and then wonder why they fucking feel tired in the afternoon. Or so most people go, oh, I crash around 3 p.m. It's because your breakfast is shit and every other meal after your breakfast is shit house. If you have a good meal at each of those meals, you won't feel tired in the afternoon. You'll feel good and you'll be pumped for training, and then you'll train hard and you'll train well and you'll get even stronger because you trained harder.
Yeah, but it might not happen on day one.
No.
Well, I tried it, but I was still tired. It's like, you've done it for 2 days.
Yeah.
Just stick it. When someone can't stick to the first 2 weeks, like without falling off for me, I know I'm in for a hard slog.
Yeah.
It's like, well, come on. Do you want this goal, or do I want it more than you want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people go, but some people are like, oh, but I don't like vegetables. I'm like, what are you, fucking 12? Like,
12,
seriously?
4.
Yeah, like, mate, it doesn't matter if you like them or not, your body does. Your body likes the micronutrients, so it functions properly. So if you want to perform well and have some level of health in your body, in your life, then maybe you should think about eating them. I mean...
Can't you just have a green supplement? I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
You shouldn't drink, but you shouldn't drink what you can eat. And a green supplement is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And like, look again.
But that's the thing. It is a supplement to support a healthy nutrition
balanced diet.
Yeah.
It's not to make up for your shortfalls in your diet. It's to add on top of it to make it better, not to try and make it not be so bad. As fish, again, like, people should get more seafood in their diet. Some people don't like seafood, and I get that a lot. Oh, but I don't eat fish. Why? I don't like it. I'm like, what fish don't you like? Oh, or have you tried all fish? No. And it's like, well, that's like fucking saying, I got a head job from this chick, but she was all teeth, so now I don't like head jobs. You just can't. It just...
Wow, we went there. Okay.
Oh, it's fucking true, but
it is true. But I guess, I mean,
Like
if you have a bad
can't-
experience with fish, like if you at the fish market or whatever, like I remember when I was a kid, when we'd go through the wherever, and I'd be like, oh, I could never work in a fish shop, like and it would be when I was a kid. I clearly remember saying that, and I really remember thinking, I'm going to work at McDonald's when I'm old enough. And what was my very, very, very first job? I worked in a fish shop, a fresh seafood shop. Anyway, so that was just a random little fun fact for you all. But yeah, but it's one of those things where it can have a real stigma around it, but then it's like, and that's where you come back to, well, are you a child or are you going to try something different? Because the thing with fish is, other than, okay, let's say maybe tuna and sardines, that that sort of stuff can be quite full on. Yeah. So I wouldn't really recommend that to someone that, I don't particularly like seafood. Yeah. Well, here you go, eat some sardines. But the thing about fish is that good fresh fish that you cook shouldn't really smell fishy.
It shouldn't smell or taste fishy.
Yeah, no. So that's the thing. So people really need to sort of branch out and get out there and try it. Like if you go to a nice restaurant, and order a nice piece of grilled fish or something like that, and it comes out stinking fishy and tasting fishy, then you're not at a good restaurant.
Yeah, but if you go to a good quality seafood restaurant, exactly like Lauren said.
Yeah. And that's it. Try something out. Try something where you're not cooking it at home, where you're going to mess it up, overcook it, make it gross, and then you'll be like, I tried it and I don't like it.
And different types of fish, like dory tastes different to barramundi. Barramundi tastes different to red emperor. Like all these fish taste different. They don't taste the same. That's like saying just because chicken and duck are both birds, they taste the same. They don't taste the same. They taste completely different. Yeah,
both delicious.
But then you also have like mollusks, like pippies. You got mussels,
oysters,
clams, heaps of stuff. Like some people don't like oysters. That's fine. I never used to like them, but I love them now. And the reason I did start liking them, like I was like, oh, I don't know about like the texture or whatever. And then I was with a mate, and we were in Newcastle, and we're having a couple of beers one afternoon. Just on the water, and he ordered some oysters, fresh oysters. They were so fresh. And he's like, just try one. And I had one. And I went, oh, actually, that's pretty fucking nice. And then from then on, I was eating them. So, like, you never know. Like, if you try a bad food, it's going to taste bad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that all that type of food is bad. You just had a bad serving.
Yeah.
Try it again. Try something else. If you've tried it from 3 or 4 different places, different sources, and then it's just shit every time, then okay, maybe.
Well, like me, for example, I don't like mushrooms, and I've never liked mushrooms. Yeah. But every time you have mushrooms, I still try them in case I like them.
Yeah.
And I still don't like them. But actually, some of them are, maybe some of the Japanese ones or whatever that I had, I was like, actually, that's not too bad, and I could eat a little bit of it. Yeah, but other than that, I keep trying them, and I keep going, yeah, it was okay, and a minute later I'm like, bleh. Yeah, no, I don't really like mushrooms.
Yeah, but it's not that bad. It's not like you're going to start vomiting and everything like that.
I legit, when I was a kid, my mum made me eat fried rice that had peas in it, and I threw up because I was like, it was all psychological for sure. I don't like peas. Eat your dinner anyway. And then I spewed, and I was like, she never made me eat peas again.
There's plenty of other seafood out there. You got lobsters, you've got prawns, and you can cook them a million different ways. You've got Balmain bugs, razor clams, what else? Scallops.
Yum.
So, I mean, there's heaps of things. Again,
we should go out for seafood tonight. Yeah.
Seafood's awesome. Again, awesome for you. High in omega-3s. A good place to get your omega-3 intake that you need.
And a very good lean protein source.
Yes, very good. Especially if you're dieting, you can get a lot of food volume out of fish.
Yep.
As well, which you're going to get.
Your portions will be greater.
Your portions are going to be bigger. So if you're dieting and you're hungry, maybe fish is a good option. Sometimes fish can be quickly digestible. So sometimes also when you've got to eat a lot of frequent meals, sometimes fish can be a good option for meals that are going to have to end up be close together as well. So you've got to look at sometimes, like maybe you miss a meal by an hour, and then you're going to have to push 2 meals together because you're bulking, and they're spaced by an hour and a half or 2 hours as opposed to 3 to 4. Fish might be a good option for one of those meals, so then it's actually, you'll be hungry and be able to eat again by the next meal. So there's a lot of things like that you'd think of when you're structuring your food and your diet. But at the end of the day, it's just consistency over a long time. Like, people go, oh, but I still want to lose weight and I still want to be able to drink and go out with my friends, and it's like, sorry, it's not going to happen, love. Seriously. you want to lose the weight, you got to dedicate a period of time to it. Look, if it's most people can only diet for a period of 3 months. Once they get beyond that, then they start to get some issues. So pick 3 months and just stick to your calories for that 3 months. It's not like you're saying, hey, you can never eat ice cream or go out with your friends again. It's 3 months. Like, I've been dieting since, October-ish. Sort of dieted as I was prepping for my comp, got down a bit, and then ate up for a couple of weeks into the comp. After the comp, again, went down calories and diet again. So pretty much been, besides a couple of weeks of refeed and then one refeed meal the other week, I've been on, like, my calories have been slowly stepping down for like close to 6 months.
Yeah. And you're still getting leaner.
And I'm still getting leaner, but
you're not blowing out having a cheat meal.
Like, we've been out for dinner a couple of times, but generally it's sushi, or I'll choose, like, we'll go and get grilled fish or something like that, fresh seafood, because it's easy to control. You know how to factor it in anyway. I know how to factor it in. But I'm going to do a week of maintenance, and the week of maintenance is going to be at Pro Raw in Melbourne, because we're going down to Melbourne for the week, and there's a lot of restaurants that we want to go to.
And I will be in a surplus.
So I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to eat above maintenance for the week. So that'll be my diet break, where I'll go. But, like, I don't need to eat shit every single day of the week.
Yeah.
I don't need a donut or whatever. When I go down to Melbourne now, I've been dieting for so long, when I go down there and I eat, I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of every one of those meals. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Do you know what I mean? I'll eat pretty much traditional through the day, and then each evening we'll go out and have something, and we'll go out for a breakfast or whatever, but I'll eat pretty sensible, and then I'll just eat what I want at that meal. If I want to have dessert, I'll have dessert. But it's, again, like, I've set myself a goal and a structure, and I'll diet till then, and I'll have a diet break, and then I'll jump back on my diet till the period of time that I've allowed myself till June again to get to my target body fat percentage. But it's like, it's not the end of the world, because I know at some point I'm going to go and I'm going to have a week, either a refeed or a diet break, or my diet's going to end, and then I'm going to go into a maintenance phase, and then I'm going to be able to eat the things I like. It's not like those restaurants are closing down.
Yeah, it's not like it's not you're not on death row and it's your last meal.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's like, well, if I've got a client who, say I've got a client for a competition or something, then you know what, I expect you to be 100%, and there's no deviation, and there's no bullshit excuses. But if I've got someone who's like, okay, well, I've been wanting to lose weight, blah, 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 and they've come to me for some help, and I'm like, cool, well, choose your first 2 weeks where you can stick with it, and then within that 3 months, like, I don't mind if you've got something on, like it's your birthday or something like that. That's, if it's your birthday and you don't have a comp looming soon, or there's nothing that you really need to be at a weight for, then I'll be like, you know what, okay, on that day, what we're going to do is we're going to eat just protein and vegetables for your meals, and then go out that night and have whatever meal you want within reason. Don't eat 5,000 calories, but like, if you know where you're going, look at the menu first, choose what you want to have, and if it's going to be a pasta, have a starter that's full protein or something, like, sort of try to hit your protein target for sure in that meal. And then if your carbs and fats are over, if it's really over, in the next day, maybe we can pull some carbs and fats from there as well. But if you've eaten really well that day leading up to it, then you've got that allowance there. Go out, even if you don't track it, I'll trust you. I do that with a few of them. I don't need you to track it. And then the ones who want to will anyway. But I'll say, don't stress about that meal and enjoy it. But the next day or by the next meal, like, you only have it at that meal. You don't get to go for pancakes and ice cream on 4 places on the way home. So, and then I'm like, and then get back on the bandwagon. But if I've got someone who's like, oh, well, something happened at work, or, this has gone wrong there, and so, I've just gone for, like, and it's like, well, then I can't be the one who wants you to do the plan. You need to want to do the plan. 100%. So, like, I've had this year at Christmas, I think we already spoke about it, because I'm not cutting for Pro Raw this year, not even at 70 kilos, and I'm allowed to go up to 75, not that I'm going to, but it's like, I had a lot of leeway. So Christmas, on Boxing Day, I really let my hair down. I had a few drinks that I normally don't really do. I ate whatever I wanted, which was still mostly protein, and it was lobster and steak, and it was good food, because we don't have crap food anyway. But I overate, but I enjoyed myself. Oh, and extra pavlova, actually. But the last 2 years, I've had Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year's, Australia Day, and my birthday, all before Pro Raw. And I haven't deviated once.
Yeah.
You ordered pizza and sat and ate pizza in front of me on my birthday
That's 'cause I love
one
you.
year. And I was like, I hate you. And you were like, you can't have any. And I was like, fuck you. I'm going to have a slice of pizza. And you were like, no, you can't. And I'm like, I can. And I just adapted something else in my meal and I ate that one slice of pizza. And it must have taken me half an hour with tiny little bites and just savored every moment of it. But I was like, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
And it was like a really small piece anyway. But yeah, but other than like, but I just stuck with it because it meant something to me. So if your goal doesn't mean enough to you, you're not going to have a successful.
Yeah, well, that's it. A goal is something
Time.
you're actually working towards. If you're not working towards it, it's a dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it. You know,
Yeah.
like if you can't stick to your diet for a week or for the 3 months or whatever, you're dedicated to it, you're not serious, you don't care about it's a goal. Anything you care about enough, you'll put the energy and effort into it. Like I always tell people, dieting's not that hard. It's just a bit of self-control.
Yeah.
Like really, like seriously, it's like it's not the end of the world. There's fucking people in third world countries that are starving and you can't go hungry for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like hunger's not going to kill you, you know what I mean? Like the fastest recorded fast, water fast on record.
The longest.
The longest,
recorded
fast, yeah.
The fastest.
Fastest, yeah. That was fast.
The fast. Wait, here I go.
It's like 380 days or 300 something. Anyway, it's over
a year.
Over a year of just drinking water and taking a multivitamin. So you're not going to die if you're fucking hungry between a couple of meals, or you're hungry for 3 months. You'll be right. Seriously,
Hunger is a good sign when you want to lose weight. Like it really is,
because that
just
means
suck
you're
it
in
up.
a deficit.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm hungry. Good, because you're dieting. That's what happens.
Good.
You're hungry. You're in a deficit. You should be hungry.
Yeah.
Try and gain weight. Gaining weight is not fun. People always go, "Oh, I'd love to eat the amount of food."
Well, that happened with us when we first started dating, and I was on a diet, and you were just doing your standard gaining. And then I was like, oh, I'm so jealous that you get to eat that much food. And you were like, I dare you to eat one of my meals. And I tried to, remember, and I just sat there and I got through some of the rice and I was like, I just can't eat any more of this. Like, just, no, I couldn't do it.
And then
but had it been a pizza, I would have been able to nail those
but
calories. But that's exactly pointing back to what we were talking about before.
You're going to grow from a pizza.
Eating whole foods and eating that much quantity is hard.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good to eat clean whole foods.
You're eating whole meals 5-6 times a day, and then sometimes you've got to come to a meal and you're not hungry and you've got to eat. It's better that you're hungry between the meal, and then when your next meal comes that you're actually hungry and you want to eat it. It's not too bad when you're not hungry and you've got to sit there and forcefully just chew and chew and chew and try and get the food down. Now that's hard.
Or you blend it like Luke Shakespeare.
Yeah, or blend it and drink it, which has happened many a time, and it is what it is, and you get a lot of digestive issues that come along with that. But yes, so dieting's not hard. People, suck it up. Just a bit of self-control. If you want it enough, you'll do it.
Yeah. I know I'm going to have a few, like probably at least 5 of my clients who are going to be like, she's talking about me in that part. So it's actually all of you. But yeah, I decided at the end of last year I'm going to not get stressed about other people not sticking to the plan because it made me so emotional and I was getting all worked up about it, and then in the end I was like,
you just want to see people succeed.
Yeah, I want people to have good results, and I know some, like, you know, like you say, dieting's not hard, but it's sticking to the diet that's hard, and that's where it comes to self-control. And sometimes it's challenging, but that's where it needs to mean enough, and if it doesn't mean enough, then I don't need to get stressed because your goal doesn't mean enough to you. So I've just sort of now decided to say, well, I'm not going to get upset at you, but do you realize that this would have been more optimal? You could have done this, you could have done that. Like, yes, you know, like, but whatever. But there's been like several occasions where it's happened in the last 5 weeks. So it's just like, well, that's not on me anymore.
Yeah.
That's up to you. You're a grown up. You paid for me for advice. I've given you the advice and it hasn't been, you didn't take it on board.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that I should get stressed about it.
Yeah.
Because I know when it was my goal, I did it.
Yeah.
And I had to I still went to events.
Yeah.
I was in London when the Olympics was on and I was doing a diet with my nutrition coach there, nutritionist, because I had to sort out my gut. And he was like, if you're going to do this 3 months, you need to really do it. Like, don't fuck around. Don't waste your money.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay. And I had I'd already had tickets to go and see the Olympics. I had like tickets for the closing party. I had tickets for a festival with all of my friends, and I wasn't allowed caffeine, any gluten or any dairy or any alcohol. Yeah. And I went for that whole 3 months and I didn't touch any of it. Because I was like, well, I did it. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I said I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And when I got told, don't waste your money and do it half-assed, like stick with it, I was like, okay, well, I can do that, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to have that determination in you. and no one else can create that for you.
No,
You have to.
it's
You have to have
got to
it.
come from inside.
Yeah.
Got to have the drive.
Yeah.
What about
Otherwise, you're never going to change, and you're going to just be exactly how you are. And you're
100%.
never going to make any difference. Your goal is a dream.
doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome?
It's insanity.
Definition of insanity.
Yeah.
So what about cheat meals?
They're a thing of the past. They're so 1990s.
You don't get to cheat on your wife, so you don't get to cheat on your diet. It's just that simple. Cheat meal, if you get a cheat meal, we've got to earn it. And you'll know when you need a cheat meal because you'll feel like death's door. You'll be lean, you'll be dry, you'll be hurting. Training will suck. And then it'll be time for a cheat meal. And then you'll eat the cheat meal and you'll get really full and you'll get even leaner. And then cheat meal was successful.
Like Ronnie Coleman.
But if that doesn't happen, you didn't earn the cheat meal. Most people could probably go 3 or 4 months before they're even going to get close to earning it. You got to start your diet at fucking 15% or below body fat to really even earn a cheat meal, or be doing some seriously high volume training.
Yeah, it's different to saying like, oh, let's have a sort of off-plan meal where, like, for mental purposes.
No, but
you know?
people think.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like the term of cheat meal.
Yeah, I don't like it
prefer
either.
like a refeed.
Yeah.
Because people think they can just go and just eat anything in sight, and which it doesn't really work like that. Because yes, you can overeat in one meal, and yes, you can gain fat in one meal.
Yeah.
It is quite possible.
Yeah.
The body is a survival. It needs to survive, has survival mechanisms, and being able to store calories for a later date because we're in famine is a possibility. So yes, you can store calories with one meal. So you eat enough food, you eat enough fat, and it'll get stored as body fat. That's what your body does. Every meal you store body fat. Your body stores the body fat and then it liberates it and uses it for energy. So if you do overeat, it will get stored as body fat, and if you don't give your body enough of a chance to liberate it, it will stay on your body as body fat. That's why calories are king, because if you keep those calories up there, your body never gets the chance to liberate body fat. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
Makes sense to you.
All right.
Yeah, and then what else? Performance. So people are like, oh yeah, but I don't want to diet because I don't want to lose strength. And it's like, relax. Until you get below 15%, even lower body fat, you're not going to lose any strength. It's impossible.
And why?
Because
Your body holds enough stores?
well, let's think of this in realistic terms. So we said calories support your body weight that you're at now.
Yes.
So you're eating enough calories to support your body weight. If you have 30% body fat on your body, those calories are supporting that 30% fat tissue. Fat tissue does not make you strong. If you support the muscle mass, which is protein again, is grams per kilogram of lean body mass. So if you're supporting the muscle tissue that's on your body, or even slightly above so that you can grow some muscle tissue, you're supporting your micronutrient needs, you've got a good distribution of fats, sufficient carbohydrates for the energy that you're expending per workout and per day, and then you're eating enough calories to support a body weight that you need to be, that's 15% body fat, then why should you lose performance?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Until you get below 15, 12% body fat, you're not even going to get into enough a deficit where you're actually going to start to compromise performance. That's just the reality.
So breaking it down, what you're saying is that anyone who's significantly overweight and says, well, I didn't want to cut for comp because I didn't want to lose strength gains, is kidding themselves.
Yes, 100%.
In a nutshell. In Shannon terms.
Yeah, you're joking.
Yeah.
Like, again, if you're above 20% body fat and you're doing a water cut to go into a competition, again, like, you're joking yourself. You should have just spent the time and just lost a little bit of body fat. And guess what? You would have felt healthier. Your conditioning would have improved because your heart function will improve. You're going to get more micronutrients in your diet because obviously if you're holding that body fat, you're not getting it from overeating fruits and vegetables, because then you wouldn't eat as many calories because it's impossible to do that.
Yeah.
So your performance is going to improve just by your health markers improving and improving the amount of micronutrients and protein you're putting in your diet instead of putting shit
and your energy levels.
Yeah, and your energy levels. So you're actually just going to get stronger. Most people get stronger by default.
Yeah.
Because they feel better, they're able to train harder, they're more hydrated because they have more potassium in their diet, so they can hold the water in the muscle cells where it needs to be. They've got more calcium and sodium and everything else like that. They got better muscle contractions.
Yep.
They got enough protein to support their muscle mass.
So water cuts for overweight people, you're also saying is no good.
No good. I mean,
good.
Why?
Yep.
Why are you cutting water?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just get healthy?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Tom last night. He asked me
performance?
about my, because I'm going up this year for
Yeah.
Pro Raw, and he was talking to me about 2-hour weigh-ins and things like that.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, what was your normal body weight you used to walk around at? And I was like, well, probably say let's on average 64.
Yeah.
And he said, well, still to cut to 60 at that body weight is still quite a large percentage of weight.
100%.
And I said, yeah, but then I would because I didn't do a water load or water cut for Pro Raw because it's the same day, whereas I would have just because it was easier to do it for a 24-hour weigh-in. But I said, yeah, but I would start to diet at the start of December for March, so that I would walk around at around 62 kilos.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes to that long-term dedication and then putting the effort in because the goal means enough to you.
But even like at your body weight, like you were able to get stronger staying at a fairly lean body fat and still coming down.
Yeah.
It only got to a point where, again, you got so lean, like last year at Pro Raw, you're well below 15%.
Yeah.
And you didn't lose strength because you were stronger than the previous
I was
year.
below 11%, and I made a mistake and cut too many carbs and made some errors.
But
regardless,
you were below 15%. You were still stronger than the year before. You weren't at your best on that day, but the other years you were still able to make significant progress going in. Why? Because your food is good. Because you ate good food. You were in a deficit because you still lost body fat. Do you know what I mean? But you didn't lose performance because there's different ways you can make deficit. If you're just making a deficit purely from calories, extra calories by default are going to give you more micronutrients because there's more total food. So more total food means more micronutrients are able to come in. So when you're in a deficit, you've got to be even smarter because you need to make up those micronutrients so there's less deficiencies. And then that's where most people's performance diminishes because they don't address these things.
Yes.
So again, like coming from dealing with, my background was dealing with fighters and getting fighters to cut weight. So from a performance perspective, and then going into strongman and then learning how to eat for strongman for doing 5 or 6 events in a day. Powerlifting nutrition is probably not that hard, really. You require a little bit less, and making sure you're fueled for the day is actually not that hard. When you're doing strongman and you've got 5 events and you've got to physically get your maintenance calories or just above maintenance in for the day so you don't die in the arse and get enough carbs and stay hydrated out in the sun all day, it's a little bit harder than a powerlifting meet, but most people can't even get it right in a powerlifting meet. When they cut weight, again, once you cut weight, the weigh-in's not over. Once you cut weight, you need to eat the food that you need to eat to rehydrate. You don't get to eat donuts. You can eat donuts after the meat.
You can eat whatever you want after the meat, but you don't go and mess up your digestive system before you get on the platform.
That's it. Eat a ton of food and you're either gonna shit yourself or piss
feel
yourself
like crap.
or feel like crap.
Hey, you might piss yourself anyway, even if you eat well.
Yeah, that's
you don't
true.
understand.
Yeah, females will.
You don't have a vagina.
But yes, but you need to pay attention to that shit. Most people can't pull a good deadlift on the day
because they haven't fueled themselves.
They haven't fueled themselves. By the time you get to deadlift, it's the end of the meet. And what do you think has happened to your body? It's depleted. You haven't eating snakes is probably not the best idea to try and get carbohydrates in. Again, to store carbohydrates, you need potassium, you need magnesium, sodium, you need those electrolytes. You need sufficient water. So if you're not getting that and you're just having snakes and, I drink Gatorade, yeah, but Gatorade is not the best sort of rehydration tool. And again, you still need to hit your required amount, your 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day, which is your RDI. you still need to hit that within the day so that you'll be sufficient with, well, you need to even hit more than that, but we're talking about hitting that as a minimum. If you're drinking Gatorade and eating snakes, you're not even getting a tenth of that. So,
Yeah.
so again, same on comp day, your nutrition needs to be on point, and you need to structure the foods. You need to have shakes, get certain types of nutrients in, electrolyte packets, sodium, make sure you get enough fruits in. Obviously, you're probably not going to eat a ton of vegetables because the fibre is going to slow down the digestion.
Yes,
you don't
correct.
want high-fat foods on the day because, again, that's going to slow down the digestion, slow down the amount of food getting in. But you also don't want to eat foods then that are going to disturb your gut on the day because you don't want to feel bloated in the stomach when you've got a belt on, so on and so forth. So you need to...
Stick with your plan.
You need to stick with the plan that you were doing that got you to the training, to the weight, probably at maintenance calories once you've made weight, and eat that through the day. And then after the comp is over, do what the fuck you want. 'Cause it doesn't
YOLO,
matter.
go celebrate your win.
Yeah. But if you eat donuts on the day and then you don't win, then you can not celebrate your win.
Uncelebrate
Yeah,
it.
uncelebrate it. Yes. So,
Right.
anything else?
I think we should wrap it up.
I think that pretty much covers everything to a degree.
Doesn't cover everything. It covers enough for nutrition part 1.
Okay.
101.
101. All right, guys, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes.
Please. No,
And
just please give us a rating.
please give us a rating.
Give us a rating whatever you want, but make it 5.
Yeah, and then and then give us a thumbs up on YouTube.
Yeah, give us a like, give us some comments.
Comments.
Let us know what else you want us to talk about.
Yep.
Let us know if you want to see Shannon with his shirt off now that he's getting shredded. Let us know if you want him to send through the photos of the girl with the teethy head job.
I'll give you a number.
Peace out.
Laters.